So I've had multiple cars and trucks and everything in between, but I'm just going to talk about my trucks this time. Well, let's get started with the first truck I ever got. I had a car for about 3 years, my first car when I turned 16. About 2-3 years, and I decided I wanted a truck. And what I decided was I wanted a Dodge, because my dad had one and kind of got me into that. But I ended up selling my first car. I ended up going to buy a 1999 Dodge 1500 Magnum with the 5.9 liter motor. It was white with a sunroof. It was a Laramie, but it was second gen, so it was an older vehicle, of course. When I got the truck, I didn't know exactly what was wrong with it because I didn't take it up to freeway speeds. I bought it for I think $1,800 because I sold my other car for $1,900, and so I bought that truck for $1,800, and it's like, oh, it's a nice truck for a first truck. And when I bought it, driving it home, when I got around 40 miles per hour, the front just started bouncing bad, and I don't think it was death wobble or nothing, because it doesn't feel like that. And kept taking it to a mechanic to figure out that issue, and I had no clue what was going on with it, and multiple times kept going, still couldn't figure it out, replaced parts and still couldn't figure it out. And then at some point that sunroof didn't work, but it kept water out of the truck, of course. So eventually, actually not eventually, but I drove one time to the mechanic to get my truck to see if we can fix it again. And on the way there, my sunroof took flight. It blew off the truck and shattered all over the road. Went and got it to make sure there's no leftover mess that's caused me. So went and got it and ended up going back home instead because that sunroof blew off. But I just put big trash bags over the top to kind of keep the water out because it started to rain. Well, of course, it never got in, but it did, of course, make a bowl inside. I don't got pictures of any of this, but my dad ended up making me a pretty cool diamond plate sunroof cover, where a piece goes up here, threads go down on each 4 corners, and another piece bolts on the bottom. And it was pretty cool. And then maybe like a month or so after that, I ended up selling it, and I only had it for maybe, I would say, about 2 to 4 months. I didn't have it long at all because of the issues. So I ended up selling it for half the price I bought it for, $900. But other than that, that truck is gone. But on to my second truck. It wasn't quite a truck, it didn't have a bed, but it was 4-wheel drive. And I ended up buying a 1999 GMC Yukon off my dad in payments. I paid him $3,500 for it. It was like a dark gray kind of color, pretty nice. It had, you lay down the back seats, and it was actually pretty cozy to sleep in. But nothing wrong with it. It was cozy. It had 120,000 miles on it. It was pretty low mileage. And I kept that for, I'll say, about a year, 6 months to a year. And I ended up putting wheels and tires on it, and they're pretty nice. GMC has pretty comfortable seats at that year. Well, I had it for a while. I had like a dent in the rear when I bought it from my dad, but it was a nice little thing. I enjoyed it. It allowed me to go places that I usually wouldn't take a car. I ended up actually trading that one in for the next vehicle that I'm gonna talk to you about. I traded it in, I got ripped off. I only traded it in for $500, which it was worth more than that for sure. But I ended up trading that one in for 2007 Dodge Ram Hemi 5.7 liter, and that one I had for a little bit. It was a nice little truck. It was silver, just stock as can be. And over time, I changed the radio in it from the stock radios that come out in that to a double din touchscreen. Pretty nice for the first modification to a truck I actually enjoyed, because I like Dodge, which, don't get offended, all the other ones are good too, just my preferences. Dodge, Ram vehicles. But I ended up doing that, and then eventually got new wheels and tires for it, which is exciting as well for that truck. And then over time, nothing was wrong with it. Then it just went into limp mode all of a sudden, and we couldn't figure out issues. Like $1,000, $2,000 got put into it, and we could not figure it out on why it went to limp mode. Oh, eventually we figured it out. It was just a chewed on wire, which, if anyone knows, electronics aren't fun. So finding that wire was a pain, but figured it out. The truck was running good again, and then the fenders started to bubble because water got into them because it was a metal body. And eventually I just sanded them down, and I ended up putting Bushwhacker fender flares on it. They weren't a bad idea, but they weren't color matched, so they just, in my opinion, looked goofy. The truck, I leveled it out as well to accommodate 33-inch tires, I believe is what I put on it. And it was a nice little truck. And then I went to go trade it in for one of my favorite trucks I wish I never sold. But I ended up trading it in for $7,000. I bought it for 15, I believe, and I had it for maybe 2 years. It wasn't a long time, and I was upside down in it, of course, like $3,000. But you live and you learn. So that leads me to one of my favorite trucks I wish I never got rid of, but it was a 2006 Dodge Ram turbo diesel Cummins with the 5.9 liter motor, and it was my first diesel. I've always wanted diesel. I got the diesel vibe going on from my dad, because he had a 2008 6.7 liter turbo diesel, and it really got me into that body style and everything. But I went a little step further and got the Mega Cab. It was a good looking blue, I think specific to Ram or to Dodge, and I ended up doing a lot to that truck. Actually, I had that truck for 3 years, one of my longest trucks, and got it nice. I loved it. First thing I did, it actually came with a King Ranch bumper on it. Wish I never got rid of that because it looked good to me, but I wanted a different style for the truck. I wanted to go the overland route and to get the sport bumper, color match it all, and it never, in the end, never really went that route. But I ended up doing that, getting that truck, taking it home, and almost immediately buying brand new wheels and tires for it. And that was exciting because my first diesel truck, making it look good, was all the hype to me. So first things first, I went on that truck was wheels and tires. And then over time, I eventually decided to go a different route again. So I got rid of those tires and those wheels, and in my opinion, the truck went back to looking just not good to me. But like I said in the last truck, you live and you learn. It happens. But I ended up doing a double din radio in that one as well, compared to stock. It was an SLT. It wasn't no fancy Laramie or anything. It was just basic. It was a good truck to me though. And I'd eventually cut off the exhaust right under the truck. Bad on my part. Lived with that for, give it about a year or so, and then I lifted the truck. I had an 8-inch lift from Zone Lifts, and I put it on the truck, and I had a level for the front, so the front was 10 inches and the rear was 8, so it didn't have a bad squat, to be honest. It looked good. So I lifted it, and then it was just a big truck. I lifted the front in my driveway, and then I drove it to work like that a few times because I couldn't do the other one until the next weekend. And it was my only vehicle. But so it looked real weird with 10-inch front stock back, like there's nothing in the back, and there was 10 inches lift in the front. It was something. But then I eventually lifted the back, and all was good. It was just a big truck. It was all an exciting truck overall. And then eventually I sold my first house and went to go buy my second house. And at my second house, my truck decided it didn't want to run anymore. Battery was bad. Batteries were bad that I thought, so I replaced both batteries. The primary and the secondary battery were diesel, and I thought that fixed it. No, that didn't fix it. So I replaced the alternator. That didn't fix it either. So I was like, last thing I can think of is a wiring harness, and that wasn't fun to do, but I did it, and the truck ran amazing after that. And I eventually actually got an exhaust for it that went all the way to the end, which was exciting too, so I didn't have to ruin my ears anymore from that drone under the cab. And then my wife was going to expect our child soon, and eventually I decided, I'm like, okay, this truck is probably not the safest because I put the lift on myself. I full-heartedly trust myself in doing that stuff. I did it on multiple trucks, but just for safety as my family, I ended up taking that 10-inch lift off, which was a pain because I had to drop the transfer case, take the spacer out of it, just like how I had to lift it, put a spacer in, and going from that, it was a pain doing it by yourself. I had to drop the transfer case and so on. Put it back in by myself. Learning experience though, you learn a lot when you do things by yourself. But I lowered it from a 10-inch to a 3-inch lift, and I left the 37-inch tires that I got for it, and I left them on the truck, which made it actually look better because when I had the 10-inch lift, 37s just looked like pizza cutters. So that's what was on the truck, was 37-inch tires, and I lowered it to 3 inches and 37-inch tires, no rubbing or nothing, which was pretty sweet on my end. And then after that, since I already said we were expecting our child, I needed a safer vehicle in my opinion, and I ended up selling that truck a couple years back. And I sold it. It was paid off and everything, which was exciting. My first paid off actual vehicle that I got through a dealership and so on, I actually paid it off. But I sold it for $20,000 cash that was supposed to go towards another truck, which that didn't happen. It went to more towards bills and remodeling my house. But after I sold that, I lived without a truck for a little while, which was something. But I ended up selling that for $20,000. Months went by, 6 months to almost a year went by without a truck. And then I ended up getting, with cash, 2008 6.4 liter Power Stroke Ford, which I ended up selling pretty quick for the same price I bought it, which was $23,000 cash. I sold it for the exact same amount because the motors in those will just melt because they're not the best of castings. So I ended up selling that pretty quick, within like a month. But it was a Lariat, it was white. I ended up putting a new air intake on it and deleting it, and it sounded really good. And then when I went to go sell it, I just put everything back on because I don't know if someone wanted a deleted vehicle. So I put everything on. I had a 6-inch lift I never put on it, which was the plan as well, but I had all the stuff to deck it out, but it never happened. So I sold all that stuff. I sold the truck for $23,000, which leads me to my other diesel truck, which was a 2013 Ram Turbo Diesel Cummins Tradesman 6.7 liter. And that was a nice truck to me, but then money got tight and stuff. I really didn't do anything to that truck. It was nice. It was like a purple blue color, clean, low miles, like I think it was like 80,000 miles or something like that. And it was a nice truck. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I had a tonneau cover on the rear, really strong, but times got tough. I ended up having to get rid of it, so I sold it for the price that I owed on it, which was still at the high part around like, I think it was like maybe like $27,000. And I sold it to get out of the loan, which worked. Got out of it, went to the bank, had that handled, truck was gone. Then I ended up waiting a whole nother almost a whole year, got another truck. So the truck behind me is the one I got, and that was 2 years ago in November, so next month. So I bought it in November 2023, and it is the black 2014 Ram 2500 turbo diesel 6.7 liter mega cab. So it has that big back seat. It sounds great. It's fully deleted. Heater grid, EGR DPF, the exhaust, it's all deleted, and sounds really good. It has a push to start. It's a Laramie, so it has heated seats and cooling seats. It's higher in the miles. I bought it with 187,000 miles on it, and now it has 204,000. So I haven't racked up the miles too much on it. But starting out, the truck, I bought it running good. About a year ago, the transmission, I was driving home from work. I drove to work perfectly fine. Driving home from work, transmission didn't want to shift gears, and when it did, it revved high RPM before it actually did. And I was on my way home, and I have a 45-minute drive home most of the freeway. So that was fun. And then I ended up having to take it to a transmission shop. So I did. They diagnosed it. Transmission was junk. 68 RFE on these trucks there's something, they ain't good. So I ended up paying to get it fixed. Took like a month, 2 months to get it fixed. I didn't have my truck for maybe 3 months. It cost me about $13,000, which that's exciting, but I wanted a specific transmission. I got a stage 2 transmission from Randy's Transmissions, which they're a really good transmission company. It allows me to put 750 horsepower to the transmission, so I can add 750 horsepower, and it will do its thing. It's really good for towing and stuff like that. So, but that started to do its thing. I also figured out within the year that my motor, when I bought the truck, was sitting on my exhaust. It was not. The motor mount broke and it was just junk. So I had that replaced. There's a few other things that I got replaced. Like I had a universal joint that was just like completely like burning red when it showed up at the mechanic, because so on. It was squeaking pretty bad, but all that's fixed. Cost me maybe almost $1,500. Transmission $13,000. So I put a good chunk of money into this thing already. But it's my current truck, and I'm gonna keep it for a while because so far it's my favorite. It gets the family around. The wife loves it. But given all that, it already had wheels and tires on it, just bald. Ended up getting new tires and selling those tires and getting some old tires back, which that was a lot. But all of it's pretty exciting. Every single one of my trucks. If I missed one, I'll update you guys later, but I don't think I missed any truck. I've had a lot of cars though, but truck wise, other than that, it's what it is. Truck runs great though. It does everything I need it to do, and where I need to go, it gets me there. No hesitation, no breakdowns, no nothing. Knock on wood. But I'm gonna call it there. End of the video. I hope you stayed as long as you did. It's kind of crazy how many trucks I've had and kind of reminiscing over them, and it's kind of crazy. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe. It will help a lot. Like or comment. Well, other than that, until next time, keep the vibe alive.